good evening and welcome to FTBSports yet again to look back at the Premier League fixtures. And tonight it's just myself, Blue Moon Ian, and come on you Spurs, Gerard. Why
Hi everyone.
Why 17, Gerard?
The number of 17. We don't say his name, but it starts with an S and it ends with an O. Oh. I learned that from a very avid season ticket holder, a good friend of mine. Yeah, and so we have an affection for him, but we don't say his name.
Okay. Well, let's have a look back. Where were we right? Where were we wrong? Where were we shocked? Where were we surprised? For those viewing, please share us out there. Like us, Facebook, Instagram, and come and join the live chat. Throw some comments in afterwards. Come back, tell us what you'd like us to do differently, like us to do better. Let's go, Gerard. Let's chat about and what a weekend it was. We thought the fireworks would start early. Leicester 3, Liverpool 1. Thoughts?
It's interesting. I was thinking they've been saying all year the season that nobody can understand, the season of no fans, the season of shock results, and wasn't this a weekend that did that? You know, there was shock wins, big losses, one constant, which we'll talk about a bit later. I think they wear blue and they're from the other side of Manchester. But even tonight's game, West Ham 3-0. You know, a good win. We probably expected them to get a win, but 3-0 and easy. You know.
Yeah. It's been interesting, the fallout from that Leicester-Liverpool win. And, you know, from everything I saw, you know, Liverpool gave them another good game. But, you know, they're going wild on Twitter. They're going wild in the press. Klopp's lost the dressing room. Klopp's having a breakdown. He's obsessed about his mum, probably quite rightly. He's maybe leaving. I'm not sure that much is true. Perhaps it's just the classic old British bit of press. When someone gets up there on a pedestal, they want to take him down. Maybe? Thoughts?
Well, I think it is that, you know, with 15 minutes to go, I watched the game. I thought it was a great goal. Salah's goal, great bit of skill from Firmino. But then suddenly the wheels just came off and the keeper again, the new guy, Kabak, is it? The centre back.
They bumped into each other, didn't they?
They bumped into each other. And I think I could have put that goal away that Vardy got, you know. So, but yeah, and then does he need a break? Is he going to walk away from the club? An impact, as you say, about his mum last week and not being able to go, and we need to understand that. But it's that put him on a pedestal and knock him off it as quickly as you can, as you say.
Well, Klopp's come out and denied it all. It all. This is a naughty question. Do you think the Scousers asked for it a little bit? Do you think they went a bit bananas about winning the league? Do you think they gave it too much Billy Big Time and everyone's looking to take him down a peg? Do you think they're
I don't know. One of my dear friends who will probably watch this tonight or tomorrow, who's a season ticket holder at Liverpool, he, you know, how are you on Saturday afternoon? Well, for 75 minutes, I was all right, you know, and they're you know, gutted. But the bigger thing, I think, it's the biggest drop in points from a team that's won the league in history. You know, they're 40 points behind or something where they were a year ago, or some massive numbers. Nobody's done worse than
the points drop. The position drop isn't that bad. I saw something online earlier that was named about 12 different previous champions who finished lower than their fourth position the season afterwards.
Yeah.
One of them was Man City in 1937, and I thought that was clutching at straws, but what the hell? Let's move on a bit to Palace Burnley. Boy, that was a bad beating. You know, the question I ask is, if the Palace fans had been there, if Selhurst had been full, would Burnley really have won that 3-0?
Wow. I doubt it. It would have been 3-0. I saw a bit of it, but it was an easy 3-0 as well. That was the challenge. You know, Palace offered little. The main boy, Eze, and everything, they just weren't at it at all. But at the back, and I've heard you talk about the defenders before, at the back, they were, I think the phrase is all over the place for the first couple, you know. So.
It's a tough one. having loads of debates with Ed and Dave and Ali, the Palace fans. And we were all really, really loyal to Roy now. But I think everyone's saying it's time for a change. There's big changes coming at Palace. I think there's 7 or 8 players out of contract, from Townsend to Cahill to Benteke in the close season. That's a lot, an awful lot. Plus all the 2 Macs and the 3 centre backs. There's a lot, and also Roy hasn't got a contract for next season. So the question is more about, should they bring a manager in now to bed it in, even if they do a handover, do it with dignity, to give that manager more time and understand who he wants to keep, who they want to lose. And you know what? They were all in agreement with that. I don't think it'll happen, but...
What's the guy's name that used to be at Bournemouth, the young guy?
Eddie Howe.
Eddie Howe, that's an interesting one. Big enough club for him?
None of us are that convinced about Eddie Howe. We like Sean Dyche. We think he's terrific. Obviously, we like Benitez. We'd love to see him in there. The jury's out on Frank Lampard. Similar with Steven Gerrard, but he seems to be making a better fist of it. But apart from that, it's a question of who would be available right now, apart from...
I like the sound of Frank Lampard. That would be a good club for him. It's a good club for him, and he would be a good name for Palace. I like the sound of that.
Be interesting. I'm not sure they're going to be bold enough to either do a handover with Roy or lose Roy at this stage. Moving on. So, 5:30. I have to say, Gerard, I did say it was going to be 3-0 to City.
You did, and you did message me saying you got that prediction right. Yeah.
Yeah. When Harry Kane hit that upright and stanch, the bar and the stanch. I can't remember. Was that about 18 minutes in? Something like that. I breathed a sigh of relief there.
But outside of that, not much else. And the furore about Klopp, and look what everybody's been saying about Lloris, and he's going to go to Paris, and who we should buy as a goalie to replace him. Interesting. I had a thought about Rafa Benitez on Saturday night, thinking, wonder how he'd fit in at White Hart Lane. You know, Jose's got to get a team. He's got to go back to what he knows that we were good at. The defensive line with Son and Kane up front, and Højbjerg and number 17 in the middle. You know, Jamie Redknapp's comment about, is he trying to please the fans and be a bit more expansive and all of that sort of stuff? Well, it isn't working. You know, exciting matches against Everton in the cup and getting beat, but men versus boys, and it was a little bit embarrassing. It was a little bit embarrassing.
To be fair, you know, the penalty, it was a penalty. My mate Højbjerg, who I don't really rate, crashed into Gundogan. It was a bit schoolboy. But when Rodri, like the only person who wanted to take a penalty, Man City, even though they might be top of the league, are like the worst team at taking penalties. Come on, Lloris should have saved that. He should have saved that.
He should have saved it.
Yeah, you know, he wasn't great. I have to say, from the purist point of view, when Gundogan left, what's his name? Sanchez. Sprawled out, not just on his bum, he was sprawled out.
He was trying to head it. He was trying to get it with his head. Yeah.
That was a goal of beauty, wasn't it?
80-yard, 90-yard pass, and Ederson looked up and he saw him running through, and he meant it, and he celebrated afterwards. You know, so and Gundogan, player of the season, nailed on, isn't it?
Yeah. Gundogan, that's the nickname of it. Aguero.
And he's ready to come. Aguero's ready to come back this week.
Yes, he is. And De Bruyne is nearly there as well. I keep looking on Twitter to see how badly Gundogan was injured. He went off with what looked like a full point. Because he's on a roll.
But City are on a roll, and
you kind of got to fancy City again. Everton had another 24 hours later, and that was. We'll come to that in a bit, but. Brighton, Graham Potter in the evening, who described him as the best English manager?
Pep.
Was it Pep?
Pep did.
Which is quite a compliment, that. And they held a marauding Aston Villa.
Mm-hmm. So, we've been talking highly about Brighton in the last couple of weeks, but maybe 0-0 against Villa's not a bad point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a bad point at all, because they were, from everything I saw about that game, Villa were on decent form.
Yeah. And I think I keep saying that they haven't got their best player, Brighton, in little Tarek Lamptey, and he's been out for a couple of months. And when he gets back and starts up and down the wing from left back, or I think he's right back, is he? But and Potter just looks like a good bloke as well, doesn't he? Apparently, he keeps the dressing room. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Another one, going on to the next game, though. Am I right to feel sorry for Southampton? Lots of injuries. Good old Danny Ings scores first.
Cracking
and then
goal.
Was starting to just gradually clamber back on the winning ways.
Yeah.
1-2-1.
Well, at half-time, all the pundits, me watching it, not a pundit, thinking this is going to be 2-3 to Southampton. Southampton, absolutely all over him in the first half. And then suddenly my man Neto pulls out a cracking goal in the second half, and he did nothing in the first half. But I like Wolves, and I think that they've had that challenge with not just the losing their centre forward, but the shock of what happened to him. And they just turned it on in the second half. So they're more than safe, which I think the most clubs are. But Southampton, worst run in 6 defeats, first time that's happened to them.
They weren't far away, and again, good old Ralph, the Austrian Hasselhut. He was massively condemning of VAR. He felt justice was ripped away from him. Tough one, not going Southampton's way. They've got too many points almost already. You would think, but we'll come on to at the end of Sunday in a minute. You'd think to stay up.
Yeah.
I think last weekend I went on record saying I thought that the bottom three was nailed on.
And we'll talk about Fulham in a minute.
West Brom 1, Man United 1.
Unbelievable. That for me was that new guy they've got up front, the big lad, Diagne or something. He did well against Spurs actually. He did well against Spurs last week, and I think he had one disallowed. And he just he's too strong for Lindelof, too strong for United centre backs. But again, United just looked off the boil. They weren't at it. None of them were in the first half. And the interesting, Ollie came out with a bit of fight afterwards, saying we're not going to give it up. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep pushing. But the inconsistency is just incredible.
You got to wonder where United would have been without signing Bruno Fernandes. He scored 14 goals this season. He's second highest scorer behind Salah. And technically, I know he's an advanced midfield player, but he's a midfield player. You'd be wondering about that, but Allardyce.
Too little, too late. Too little, too late. I think there's no way they're going to stay up.
I don't think so. I think the bottom three is nailed on. I mean, at this moment in time, what do we got? We got a gap of 7 points. To be fair, Newcastle have played a game more. So if Fulham did win the game in hand they've got over Newcastle, that could bring them to 21 points. Only a 4-point gap to Newcastle. Wilson out for weeks and weeks.
Well, we're jumping ahead, but Fulham they looked good against Everton. Everton a bit tired, like Jose said Spurs were from the midweek cup match. But Fulham looked on form, and they're their new guy up front. I think he might actually be English. Is he English? Madja. Yeah, and great coaching goals. What a centre forward needs to do, and they look strong.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sorry, my cat is shouting at me. I don't know why he's shouting at me, but he's shouting. He's not happy. He said he's pissed off because we've missed out talking about Arsenal's amazing win over Leeds.
He shouldn't be pissed off about that. So, Aubameyang back on form.
I have to say, you and I, when we were discussing this game, we didn't know whether Arsenal had enough to beat what was an on-form Leeds at that stage. You have to take your hat off. That's a good performance by Arsenal.
And I think I saw the second half, and I think Leeds, with 20 minutes to go, Arsenal were getting a bit nervy, even 4-0 up and 4-1 and 4-2, and Leeds played some amazing good football in the second half. But again, it's their season; they're either brilliant and letting them in, they concede and they score. They just conceded too many in the first half. But is Bielsa a genius or not? That's the question.
I don't know if he has enough of a team to play the sort of football he'd love to play. You've got to say, hey, you talked about Benitez at Spurs. What else would make us Spurs?
Yeah.
Make us Spurs.
Interesting.
He'd have Waddle and Hoddle crooning about how good he was. Spurs, surely, who would love to see that Bielsa style football.
Yeah, so...
But I hear there isn't an out clause in Jose's contract. And Levy surely is not going to write him a check for the rest of his contract, is he? Sure.
Well, something's got to change this week. Wolfsburg and the Europa. If we get a win there, we've got West Ham. Suddenly, we're nervous about playing West Ham at the weekend.
We should be.
Yeah, we should be, but we shouldn't be as a club. That's the challenge. So and if we lose to this Wolfsburg in the Europa League, who knows where we'll be by the weekend.
Interesting, just looking at tonight already, and we did say that Chelsea would have miles too much for Newcastle. Chelsea 1-0, 34 minutes gone. That actually pushes, technically, them to have played 2 games more than Fulham. That, if Fulham could, I'm not saying they would, win those 2 extra games, boy, that pulls Newcastle back into it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think that Scotty Parker, very confident after the game last night, knows he's got a talented squad. This new guy up front, which is what they were missing. Everton were off the boil and had their strong team out, but you've only got to beat what's out there, and it was a bloody good win for them. Good win.
Actually, I think I've done my sums wrong. It will still only be 1 game in hand they have. So Fulham still have quite a job to do. There's still 4 points adrift at Newcastle. That will take... Yeah, that would be... I was texting my mate Rick, who's a Fulham fan, last night, and that would be the great escape if Fulham managed to clear back out of relegation. What the hell? Villa did it last season.
Yeah, they did. And I think that, this time last year, we were starting to talk about West Ham going down, and look at that, but it might be just this guy up front that makes a difference. And if they can go on a run of 3 or 4 and pick up 9 or 12 points in the next 4 or 5 weeks... the likes of Newcastle and, dare I say it, Palace might be looking a bit uneasy in their training sessions.
Perhaps. I mean, Fulham have got 18 points and Palace have got 29. I think that's a bridge too far. But I think it's Newcastle have got to worry. Yeah. I think it's that little bit there that Newcastle have got to worry about there. And that's why back at the Southampton and Crystal Palace, surely they're not going to go down. And it's about trying to build ready for next season.
If I had a pound to bet now, I'd bet the 3 in the bottom 3 now would go the 3 to go down. I'd like to see an exciting end to the season. I'm not sure I'd like to see Palace dropping back, but I wouldn't mind seeing Newcastle having a little slip up and Fulham making a run at it. Fulham out of, Sheffield United have gone, West Brom I think have gone. But isn't it just amazing the momentum? And if they can get 3 wins on the trot, it could all change. They're a
good footballing team for them. So it's we're going to be back together Friday night talking about the weekend. But boy, it's a seesaw. Yeah. City have got to beat Everton. Going to Everton, not easy on Wednesday night. If they can come through that, then gosh, you really got to think they're heading into the final furlough. But again, it can change. City lose there, the gap gets closed. But,
I think when I reflected on the weekend, I didn't get one prediction right. Lots of goals, away wins, lots, shock results. Even, Palace losing 3, the way they lost was a shock result. Fulham, as we've talked about. But that one constant at a counter City, and somebody who I have a real affection for messaged me a lot during that match, and was winding me up a little bit. But it's just just incredible, just incredible.
So Hamza says, do you think Jose will get the sack if he loses to West Ham next weekend? Talks are emerging. Actually, he's right. Nagelsmann.
I think Nagelsmann, because he was being talked about before for other, I think he's tied in or something. He's got a big contract. Will Jose get the sack at after West Ham? Jose might get the sack after Wolfsburg.
If they go out, that would be. Yeah.
They're the lowest ranked team in the Europa League.
Really get a checkbook out and pay him off?
Well, I think if it's 8-10 million, whatever it will be. And I was thinking about Jose when he left United, and they said, "What happens if you get the sack?" And he says, "I take the money and in a few months get another job." That's not what we want. And when the rumours coming out that Harry's supporting him, then you start always thinking the other way. Oh, is that what Harry actually said? So because the frustration around for Harry and Son, not even getting the ball. The first time this year that Harry Kane didn't touch the ball in the opposition's box, that's just not right.
A lot of press giving it Harry Kane's coming into his, the last of his good years at 28. Will he ever win anything unless he changes club? I don't know. Will he stick it out at Spurs all the way through? But at the same time, could anybody actually afford to buy him?
Well, that's the challenge. I think Levy would want to pay more to keep Harry Kane than what he'd have to pay to get rid of Jose.
He's also been bitten, Levy, in that, when he sold Bale, not all the purchases worked out. When he sold Modric as well, they offloaded 2 players, and I'm not certain that the players they brought in like value for money compared with what went out, particularly on the Modric transfer. But
we're talking about what's happened with Bale or what's happened with Dyer and all of this sort of stuff. What's happening with all of them? There's change in the back four, and Reguilon injured, and Dyer playing and Dyer not playing, and suddenly Dele comes on and Bale comes on. Bale actually did more in 15 minutes.
That little jinking run was magic. It was like vintage Bale. You look back to the times, you go, my God, he was unplayable.
Yeah.
And okay, he was for like 30 seconds, 60 seconds tops, but at least we saw that.
Yeah, and he did more in 15 minutes than he's done in the rest of the season put together with the limited chances he's had. But I think that Leicester, the only team below City to win. The gap's there now. They're on it, and I think that anybody, if City slip up now, I'd be surprised. I'd be very surprised.
Again, Solo's talking about Harry Kane leaving. The one bit that holds me back on this is I'm not certain for quite a long time we'll see a 80-100 million pound transfer. I just don't think even Real Madrid are now, Mbappe's talking about staying yet another year until his contract winds down. Well, why? Real Madrid have got to Mbappe. There's no shadow of a doubt. So someone word in his ear and said, I don't think Real Madrid can afford you this summer. You're going to have to wait another year. And he's actually young enough to do that.
Yeah.
I'm for a long time, I think those big transfers, anything over 50 million, is not going to happen. So I think you're right. Levy and those chairmen will hold on to those world class players because they want the money for them. They're not going to get the money. 28 years old. I don't know. What's the going rate at the moment? 35, 40 million versus
he wouldn't go for that, as you say, wouldn't let him go. But I think Solo, I generally think that there's a bigger chance of Jose going before Harry going anywhere. And he's got his young kids. He's just had a new baby. He's not going to want to travel over to Madrid or any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, Hamza's come back in, said he's scared that if Jose doesn't win any trophies this season and continues to play his horrible football, Kane and Son might leave. I have said right from the very beginning, even for when Spurs beat City 2-0 early in the season with that supposed masterclass by Jose, you're playing with fire. Great. If you win a trophy, that's fine. You've sold your grandma to your style of football to win a trophy. If you're that desperate, damn. However, if you start losing or you start not winning with that style of football, everyone will turn on you.
Well, we quite enjoyed it when they were top of the league in December. We quite enjoyed the City game and the others.
You've got to be more than that. You've got to be able to turn a year on the form. Juventus preparing £78 million transfer for Son. I tell you, I'm worried Son might cut his losses. That takes £78 million. Really interesting. Since Harry Kane got injured, I haven't even noticed he's been playing.
Well, 70. Sonny's worth 78 million. When you look at what particularly Juventus pay some people, but I can't see it. I think that I think the game against Wolfsburg, the game against West Ham, it's a pivotal 4 or 5 days. And, I would love us to beat Wolfsburg, love us to beat West Ham, and Jose still to be there next week. But let's see what happens. And, in answer to your question about would Levy pay him off, I think 8-10 million, whatever it's going to cost to get rid of him, might well be money well spent, And then when somebody alerted me to Rafa Benitez, I was thinking maybe not a bad move.
Nagelsmann that Hamza said is not a bad shout, actually.
Yeah.
He's not a bad shout, and that could be a dynasty kind of manager who could manage very positively.
He's only 32 or something, isn't he?
Sorry?
32, 33?
Yeah, I believe he is, yeah. But interesting. I always saw, Son has this kind of boyish, lovable way about him with his smiles on the pitch, etc. I thought, he'd be a humble sort of guy out of the patch. But no. This is a guy who was on the waiting list and got a Bugatti beer on for, X amount of £1 million. And I never thought that was a Son kind of purchase. Clearly, I don't know the guy. And money talks in his life and bling as much as it does for Aubameyang and Cristiano Ronaldo, who's on a waiting list for, I think, a 4 or 5 million Bugatti at the moment.
And have you seen the sensational video? If you watch the sensational documentary on Amazon, what you see is a winner. He wants to train, he wants to work hard with his dad and his brother in the academy. This kid doesn't want to be anywhere for a number of years and get plaudits for playing well and not winning anything. And that's but I just hope that Son and Kane have got more of an influence at Spurs than Jose's got, and make the difference.
Kane to Man City. Hey, I think he is the best striker in the world. So would I welcome him? Yes, I would. I'd rather he was 22 or 23.
Right type of player for City.
He would fulfill the last 2 years of Pep's contract in his 29th and 30th year, which might be interesting. So that Pep could go out with an enormous bang from City. It would go against everything Pep usually does in signing. Actually, I know I've just told myself a white lie there. Pep usually signs. No, he didn't sign Fernandinho. I can't think of a player over 25 much that Pep has signed, 25 years of age. Fernandinho was bought by
the Italian guy. What's his name? The Italian
manager.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
My mind's got one.
But if Madrid came in for Son,
Manuel Pellegrini, I think, signed Fernandinho.
Yeah.
Not Pep. And he was 28 when he came to City.
But if the likes of Madrid come in for Son, not many turn them down. You can't really turn them down.
No. I would take that. And I'd find a better partner than possibly for Kane. What's more important, winning a trophy or top 4? So I think he's talking about the Carabao Cup or top 4. That's
I would sit here right now in February and say the Carabao Cup, because my nervousness with the gap now even to West Ham in 4th place, Chelsea, I think will go above Liverpool tonight with a win. Right now we would take the Carabao Cup, and in particular because it would be a win against Man City and stop them getting the treble or the quadruple or whatever they're going for. So I'd take the Carabao Cup. I'd take the Europa League right now. And I'm just nervous that the top 4 is out of our reach already.
Yeah. I tell you, wow. I mean, I hadn't realised the impact. Liverpool are now in 6th place. And they've played the same number of games of West Ham and Chelsea and Leicester and Man U who are above them. Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a big thing. And then technically, they could drop down further because they've played 2 more games than Everton and 2-0 Villa. Flipping it. I hadn't even thought about it like that.
Mm-hmm. It'll be Liverpool and Spurs pushing to get a Europa League place.
Yeah, I mean, that is who are Liverpool's next 2 games? So Liverpool have got they've got Everton in the Merseyside derby on the 20th of February. Oh boy, that's a stinker, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Away at Sheffield United, surely they're going to do that one. But oh no, I mean Liverpool Everton. Can you see that? Oh,
well, I think Everton, if there's a year they're going to finish above Liverpool and beat Liverpool in their Merseyside derby, it's this year, isn't it? And the run that Liverpool are on, so Liverpool get a good win in the Champions League this week. That'll give them some momentum, but they've got to go.
Leipzig.
They've got to go to They've got to go to Hungary or somewhere to play that game, haven't they?
Yeah. But Sheffield United away, which they should do. Fulham at home. Away at Wolves, who aren't playing that well. You'd have thought Liverpool are going to pick a few wins out of there, aren't they, and claw themselves back in the game.
I just think that, are they going to get more, like Spurs, are they going to get more wins than Everton, Villa, West Ham? That's the nervousness, I'm
not going to disagree with Hamza's idea that he would fit in perfectly at Man City. You're absolutely right. He's the best striker in the world. He would fit in absolutely perfectly.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Aren't City going after Lukaku, though?
I can't believe that story. You've got to be joking. I mean, okay, he's better than Benteke, but it's a close run thing, and that doesn't sound...
He's putting them in every week in Italy. Milan have gone top of the league, haven't they?
Surely he's not a Pep kind of player. Surely.
No, I didn't think so when I read it. Yeah, so and I think Inter went top, so he's scoring at least 1, if not 2, every week. So I think this is their year to win the Serie A. So I think he'll probably stay there. But I was surprised when I read that. But they'd get him at a snip of what they'd have to pay him and Kane, isn't it?
Yeah, but Lukaku, Man City, come on, didn't you? No way. I think they'd absolutely been smoking goodness knows what if they signed Lukaku. That would be incongruous to Pep's style and creed. I couldn't believe it. Cool. Right, I'll see you Friday, Squire.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Remember,
cheers, guys.
Like, subscribe, contribute. We've had some great comments tonight. Thanks, Hamza, for chipping in. Thanks, Solo. Have a lovely evening. Take care, guys. Bye.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.